Excited about your venture of like bringing these conversations to the forefront, because I watched your video or your live with Wendy,
Yeah.
and I was like, even as much as we've shared together, hearing you tell your whole story of like your parents, you
Mhm.
know, and your own journey into spirituality was like, damn, this is so refreshing. Just hearing it again and hearing details that I never heard. I'm like, oh wow, this is really, I know it's really helpful and impactful for people that are also starting to explore like
Right.
what spirituality means to them, you know?
Yeah, because it's multifaceted. So it means so many things. And I feel like that's where we hurt ourselves when we try to just put ourselves in these boxes. It's like this life is not monolith. Everything is, constantly building upon each
Hello.
other. And we're
Yeah.
always evolving. At least you should be if you're a grown person. You should be evolving all the time. Just saying.
That's what we should be doing, right? And if you're not
Right.
evolving, then you have to figure out what those blockages are within yourself that are hindering or holding you back from evolving. And that, I mean, even I've dealt with that. That's been a lot of, for me, like not wanting to share the evolution and things because, just different traumas of things getting hijacked and stuff,
Yeah.
you know the deal.
I know, and that's something that I want to just talk about. So I guess, we could just honestly go right into it. I think that's a perfect segue. So I feel like what you were saying, like shame has kept you, from really facing, those type of things that you've like have laid dormant for a long time. And it's just, I feel like shame is just such a distraction.
It wastes so much time because the shame holds us back from living. And it is a distraction because then we get caught up in this cycle of shame and guilt, and it becomes this thing. You feel shame, and then you feel guilty because of the shame, and then because you don't want to, or you're not ready to share whatever, you feel guilty again, and then you feel shameful again. It is. We don't have time for this. And it's a journey and it's a process, and it can be very difficult. It can be very isolating. But I think both of us are kind of living proof that you can come out on the other side of healing through shame, of healing shame and holding space for yourself. Yes, see, Arcadia said, been there, girl.
And so many people have. I think the beautiful thing about our friendship and just us knowing each other for as long as we have is just that we've learned how to work through shame with each other. Because if you can be vulnerable with your closest people, everybody else is like, for me, at least, I'm like, I don't really care what y'all think. As long as, my circle, they're understanding the energy that I'm coming with and that I'm scared of this. Hey, Neen, that's my line sister. You and Neen have the same birthday.
Toyasa's up in here. Hey, sis.
Yes.
Y'all. And Polly, you would be so proud of me because around shame and guilt and fear and all those things. Girl, I cried twice today.
Girl, I got my tissue ready. Okay, because individual facts. I was like, I don't know how this is going to go. And I know.
I might need to get some Kleenex because, girl, the tears, I'm finally, I have a different relationship with crying and with tears and that kind of release, and I'm welcoming it more and more because I felt better. I was like, oh, it's still, there's still more to come. Hey, come on May 22nd. That's my birthday.
Yeah, that's my line sister. You and you have seen birthday. That's my pearl.
Hey, but yeah,
and, I love hearing that, Sharlia. Like, honestly. Yep. Okay. The people watching, we love astrology. We love astrology. And so Sharlia and I, we always love to joke about how, girl, tell them how we met. Okay. I'm a Sagittarius. Sharlia's a Gemini. So,
the story of how we met is actually so cool. We were both at FIU, Florida International University here in Miami. I'm in Miami now. Paulietta's in Atlanta or in Georgia. And we were both studying the African diaspora through history with Pauletta, and I was in political science and African, whatever, interdisciplinary degrees, right?
Yeah.
Interdisciplinary.
Right.
And there was a screening happening on our campus around the Orisha Yemaya. And you were already in the theater.
Yeah.
And I walked in and I looked around and I was like, where do I sit? Something drew me and I walked right over to you, sat next to you in that big ass theater where there was hella space and, and I was like, so tell me your interest in Yemaya. Like, why are you here?
That was still like the beginning of my spiritual journey. So it's just interesting how all of this stuff aligns, because I was just learning about the Orishas and, and just feeling this connection to Yemaya and everything. And I was like, what is this? Because this is something so outside of, what I had been taught, but just always feeling this connection in the way that I vibe with this energy, like this mothering aspect. And I've always been a nurturer. They used to call me Little Miss Mama Pauletta growing up.
Aww.
So, right.
Mama
so I've always, had that kind of essence about me. But that spiritual journey helped me to channel it, and also knowing who doesn't deserve that spirit from me either.
That discernment is valuable.
Yeah. And I don't think that I would have been able to come to that discernment the way that I did if it wasn't because of having friendships like the one that you and I have shared over the years.
Our friendship offered, in a way that I hadn't had in a long time, that dynamic of like sharpening and nurturing each other, real vulnerability. Even conflict is difficult for most people, unless you're somebody that thrives on tearing people down. And you know what I'm saying? Conflict is difficult, and it's even more difficult when you're invested in somebody and you love them and you care about them. It's like, and the way that we've navigated conflict in our relationship has sharpened me in such a way, girl, that even in my professional life, I can come to somebody and say, listen, which I've had to do more recently a lot. Listen,
they'll do it.
This isn't okay. I'm not feeling like my needs are met. I'm not feeling like I have the support that I need. And, I need to hold you accountable. And I need you to know that it's okay. We can do this. And it doesn't mean that we're going to war with each other. It doesn't mean that there's a falling out. You know what I mean?
Exactly. But when you come from, a space where you're not taught how to effectively have disagreements with people, it is the most traumatic thing to have a falling out with the people, like you said, that you love the most. And I know for me, something I struggled with so much was being able to tell somebody, listen, what you said hurt me. Because once again, the shame. And second of all, I know how I can get. I'm pretty sure most of the time. But the fire, it just boils up. And I was just like, listen, I've had enough. Whereas okay, Sharlia has seen the finger, but you have seen it. But now I'm in this place where I'm just like, I don't even have that to give. And it came from having those hard conversations with my homies. If I can't have this type of conversation with my sister friend, then how am I going to be able to go out there and tell, Tom and Sally, okay, you have me messed up, but in a way that doesn't get me sent to HR, and we have to write articles and all this type of stuff.
And the way that it can be received, that's real. I mean, even thinking about, I swear, you and Arcadia and Toynessa, honestly, the three of y'all leading up to my wedding, leading up to getting married, when I was really experiencing a lot of trauma with my birth sisters, and just like being able to be like, wait, let me cross-reference. Am I tripping? Am I coming at this in a way that it can be received? Like, am I being, you know what I'm saying? Like, am I good? It helps so much with me navigating the conversations with my birth sisters who haven't necessarily been able to interact with me along my journey of growing into, having those hard conversations in a way where it's like, I mean, because to be real, the way that we relate and interact with each other, right? And the way that we interact with like our partners and people is very different than what we were raised in. Like you said, voicing that hurt me. There was never space for that conversation in my household growing up. There was never space for those raw kind of conversations and vulnerable conversations with my siblings growing up. We were too busy, operating from places of survival and from places of emotional, trying to provide emotional nourishment in an environment where we were emotionally, neglected. Yeah. So it's sisterhood. Our sisterhood has been such a gift.
It has, and an untimely one. I didn't foresee it when I decided to pursue. Oh, Nushka, no, hey Nushka. When I decided to pursue graduate studies at FIU, I remember, just asking God to send me community, because I had left a space when I was living in the Twin Cities where community was a big part of what our year was supposed to encompass.
Right.
And so, learning that language, I said, oh my gosh, community. But my goodness, sometimes, when you're asking for community, you have to be prepared for how it shows up.
Okay.
And I was receiving a lot of reflections, I'm putting it out there and I'm getting it back, because I came down just feeling like the best thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not even gonna say since sliced bread, I'm gonna say since cornbread, Southern roots or whatever. Like, it's like, ooh, got accepted this program, we got a system.
We out here. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, just really excited, but not knowing that journey to Miami helped to further inform not only my womanhood, but how I would engage in my sisterhood. And I didn't think that those were lessons that I would have to learn. I thought I was just going down there to get it, a master's degree.
Right. Yeah. No, Miami there have been two places that have been really formative in who I am for me. And one was LA, right? And I left LA to move to Miami for the program. And Miami is still continuing to shape and mold me. And since you left Miami, I'm just now, really getting steeped in sisterhood in a way again. And it's like, this feels nice, and I can trust other people as well, because you're like my closest sister since moving. And you can't hold everything, and I would never put that on you. So it's like, I hear you. I've been calling for more community as well. It's so weird too, because I thought that I knew how to do community when I was in LA, but it was in a very specific kind of way. A lot of it was informed by like trauma bonds, right? Especially because a lot of the community that I formed was formed while I was a part of founding Black Lives Matter, and we literally became community and bonded in trauma. And other bonds on campus, we bonded in trauma of legacies of oppression around Blackness and around gender. And then coming to Miami, where it was like kind of a clean slate and having a door open where I could form community in a new way, it was intimidating. Community can be scary, because here you go, coming in naive or maybe seasoned, guarded or open. And like you said, we don't know how it's going to show up. And community here in Miami, accept me. And community here in Miami is so layered too, because I don't know if folks know, like, Blackness in Miami and community in Miami, the way it's done, can be very layered, and a lot of the layers are very toxic.
Yes, it's a violent place, definitely for those people that are desiring deeper connections. It is a very violent place, and you don't always notice the way that you're getting wrapped up in the toxicity until you're in it, and you're taking on traits that you would have never probably exhibited before. But Miami is one of those survival cities. I feel like the same way LA is, it's like, you get your 3, maybe 5, 6 years in, and then
you gotta slide.
Yeah, you gotta know where to be. It's one of those places, so it'll make or break you. But everything is beautiful in Miami when you first see it, including the people. You know, everybody looks like they're having fun all the time, but Miami, coming to Miami at 25 was a lot different, leaving Miami at 29.
Yeah.
You figure out this I'm past this now. I got what I needed and I can move on without hating the place.
Without hating the place. Taking it for what it is, what it's gifted, what it's reflected back, and being like, thank you. Thank you. I have gratitude and now I can release it.
This is above me now.
No, but for real, community here can be really challenging. I mean, we've shared space together, and then we've shared space together in other places, right? And seen how that's gone. And I feel like there have been places that hold on to each other because we're witnessing the toxicity, and we're like, we're not going to go there, but also this space is offering something that we need, right? And when I'm talking about that, I'm thinking specifically like our experience within the Haitian community. I'm Haitian American and African American. You're African American. And being in some of those places, it was like, you see, I'm like,
I see.
Diplomatic in my word choices, but having your identity contested and constantly having your identity contested in a place where we thought it was a container of sisterhood and of community and of care. That was tough.
Yeah.
That was tough.
How was it tough for you, Sharlia, though? What made it tough for you? Because I have my experience.
Yeah. So for me, what made it tough was, one, growing up in California, I was so excited to come to Miami because I was like, there's a huge Haitian diaspora. So I always had it since 9 years old. I wanted to move to Haiti, and Miami's a stop along the way. You know what I'm saying? Let me grab my language, let me build community, and then hop over. So so coming and being like, okay, cool. There's Haitian dance that I can join and be a part of. There's language, there's community, there's women, there's Haitian women who remind me of my grandmother and remind me of my mother, and just offer those things that I felt like I really needed, especially in the middle of that master's PhD program where I was questioning my life. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of joy that came from it, but there was also a lot of harm, where, you're in spaces and it's like, you're diaspora or, or, like my African Americanness creates a problem. And it's like, things like that, where it was like, the hell is going on here? Like, yes, I'm African American and I'm Haitian American and I'm Black, period. Yeah. And if we're going to hold community with each other in this way, then this stuff needs to get aired out in a way where we're not trying to perpetuate harm. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And also the dynamic of generational leadership, right? In the same way that I was definitely learning to lean into my womanhood. What does it mean to be a woman? What does it mean to be a woman and stand in my power and say, this doesn't feel good to me. I think this can be better. This isn't according to my values, blah, blah, blah. And not be received with venom, with violence, not even be received, you know what I'm saying? But with hostility. It was harmful. And I'm still speaking coded because I'm.
And I think that, that's what we do though, right? Whether you're a part of the Haitian community, or whether you're part of the Black American community, we have a way of holding this silence that isn't beneficial to us because we don't want to just tear down, everything that is known about our communities. Yeah. But I'm like, both things can exist at the same time. So And I think that's another thing. You know, there was a lot of competition in Miami. So that's the way in which it was hard for me. It was knowing that I came to the circle and really wanted to be at like a nice space and everything, but not being able to receive them. What was the question?
The comment was that we have to be careful. You got to be careful about the connections you make in seasons of challenge. Absolute girl. You want to touch on that? You want to go there?
Let's talk about it. That's definitely true. I'm a firm believer in that, because once again, going back to what we were saying earlier about those trauma bonds. Mm-hmm. Okay. When you function from a spirit of lack and desperation, that's what you also attract to. Everybody that you come in contact with, there is this link of pain that follows you. And a lot of that comes from codependency. Yeah. So when you've gone so much in your life, not being accepted, always feeling alienated, and then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, somebody else knows what it feels like to be sad too.
Yep.
You know, you're having word vomit and you're connecting with these people. And then when you start to elevate and change, those people are still holding on to a painful version of you that is no longer in existence.
Yep.
In the same way that it's preached at us all the time, especially as women, women need to take their time to be with another man because all women want to be with men, right? But, you know, women need to take their time before they pursue another romantic relationship. That's the same way with friendship. Don't come in with this messed up idea of community. Don't come in trying to be possessive, and don't come in trying to hold people to a standard that is not going to help them reach their purpose.
Listen,
within the sister circle. Honestly, I understand grace, but it's time now. You got to let people like that go, because sometimes you're interrupting a karmic lesson they have to learn their own.
Facts. Yes, and then once that karmic lesson is interrupted, you're the bad guy. No matter how it goes, you're gonna be deemed the bad guy, and there's gonna be dirt thrown on your name. However it goes, but I always like to lean on the fact that we're all playing a part in each other's evolution. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that shit is rough, okay? Sometimes that is really grimy, some stuff is really foul, straight up.
It is, because it's not even we've all done, levels of foulness to our friends. But some stuff, I'm like, okay, a sorry isn't enough for this, because some people become comfortable with being disrespectful. Yeah. And I was like, that's not what my sisterhood is going to be about. If you have an issue, come and say it to me. Let's have a conversation about it and let's move forward. But I was like, you just getting everything off your chest in this moment of what you feel is a release. Mm-hmm. It's evil.
So how have you handled those situations of conflict and of, less than the best expression and version of sisterhood and community?
Honestly, Sharlia, I've really become a very self-reflective person, and I feel like I always thought a lot, but it wasn't in a healthy way in which I thought about myself. It was always, how can I be better, in this dynamic with another person? But once I started having these experiences where I'm just like, these sisterhoods aren't matching up, and I'm trying to do the adult thing and have a conversation, and it's just I started giving myself that same grace and compassion I was giving them other hoes.
It's true. I know. I remember. I know something that I witnessed in our sisterhood, and with you navigating, poison essentially, was you started, like you said, giving yourself grace, and the way that you were doing it is that you were showing up for yourself and prioritizing yourself and telling people, even me, remember, I was like,
okay.
You weren't there. Yes,
feelings and Sharlia was so hurt, y'all. I was
and I realized so what happened was there was the event. I think it was the second talk that I was doing with Jessie Wu. I wanted you to be there. I was like, Polly, come meet Jessie. It was cool, blah, blah, blah. And you were like, Leah, I can't come. I'm gonna be supportive of you, you know, but I can't come. And my little feelings were so hurt. Oh, I was so hurt and upset. And then later we had a conversation, right? But later when I reflected on it, I was like, Paulietta is just making space around her. She's creating a little bit of a distance so that she can feel that space with care for herself.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, that's hella powerful to be like, listen, I love you, but no, I can't come. I love you, but no, I won't be there. I love you, but no, I can't show up for you in that way because I am processing. I'm hurt. My feelings are hurt. I'm tired. I got stuff to do.
So tired.
And that was such a powerful thing for me because I didn't know how to do that. Yeah.
And the way in which I was creating space was also giving you the freedom to have that space for yourself. Because I felt like a lot of it came down with you feeling very, like a lot of resentment, you know, not only towards me, but also the ways in which you had showed up for your other friendships and you feeling as if, well, nobody can ever come to my stuff. And I said, listen, I'm not one of those people who is just like, oh, I'm going to take the time that I need. But when I'm ready to bounce back in the scene, you need to be ready for me. I'm like, listen, if you got to say bye for a little while too, I thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Because when we all commit together, what a time. Okay. So I just want to have a good time. And that, I feel like for me, we were talking earlier about how you would define sisterhood. For me, that's a huge component of it. I give you the grace to go off and find yourself time and time again, you know, because I give myself that same grace. I don't own you. I can never possess you. And I don't want you in that form. So when you come back, it's at the highest vibration and it's a good time and it's the best possible time it can be, because I don't want to feel drained with a friend who feels like they're always holding on to everything that I come with, because we all do emotional labor for our relationships. We just do.
We do. We all do emotional labor for all of our relationships.
All of our relationships. And I feel as if sisterhood is one of those relationships that we don't apply it the same way. There is a certain intimacy between friendships that even our romantic partnerships
absolutely
can never understand.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. And in that, they need the same level of awareness and attention and care and freedom. Like, you know, with me and Anthony, I'm always saying like love. The way when I went through my journey of how do I define love, I was like, okay, love is freedom. You know, love is freedom to be the most pure. I don't want to say pure, the most full, the most free expression of myself in every given moment, right? And sisterhood also has that same element. Sisterhood, when we're talking about defining sisterhood, I think I would apply that too. How I define sisterhood also has a large element of freedom, you know, because I mean, where else can you be free and cry and be raggedy, okay, and soar at your highest heights than within a sisterhood circle, within sisterhood, within that intimacy. There is freedom there too. There's a lot of freedom there. Yeah.
And you always have to be, and I feel like in a space to give it too, you know, of course within reason, because I feel as if sometimes people can hear these type of conversations and they take on this totally left idea like, well, if they just ghost me, okay, ghosting and someone taking time away while effectively communicating that, listen, girl, I'm not going to be on the scene as much. This is what I need to do for myself. Okay, I'm good though. I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay, whereas ghosting is just like, you'll see me when you see me. You maybe never will again, and that's okay.
and I think in that, because I've done that. I used to be like that a lot. And you know what it was when I would just dip, like, you'll see me when you see me. A lot of it was fear and shame. Going back, fear and shame of allowing someone to see me in my vulnerability, to see me in my pain, to see me in my lowest, because I didn't trust people to hold me in that way, you know. Yeah. And it's hard to we all go through our process of like you said, discerning who can see you, who deserves access to you in that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and because you have that fear, you also attract it as well. You constantly will attract people who are emotionally unavailable. People who know how to play those narcissistic games where it's just like, oh, that happened to me too. And then next thing you know, they like Homegirl from For Color Girls. Somebody ran off with all my stuff. You know, and then it's just like, well, who do you have to be mad at? You know, self. I mean, it doesn't justify what that person did, but it's you taking ownership of the fact that you gave yourself away prematurely because you didn't think that you were important enough to be held.
To be held. Yep. And that reflection can be really hard. Yeah. That reflection can be really hard to take of like, damn, it's not, there's equal responsibility and accountability in this harm. This person hurt me, but what was I doing that allowed that hurt? What was I turning my eyes away from? What was I closing my ears to when they were telling me exactly who they were? Whether that's a romantic partner or intimacy with friends, you know? Yeah. Look, people will always tell you who they are. Do you believe them?
And some people will say it, you know, so candidly too. But you're thinking, oh, they just joking. Like, they just... First of all, I don't know who said it, and I can't say it verbatim, but, you know, usually if somebody says they're not a nice person, they're probably not. Because, like, who in their right mind is just going to run around saying, oh, I'm not a nice person. Like, I'm really not. Like,
and I've heard it, and I was like, no, you're a nice person. No.
Okay, trying to big them up. I'm not going to big anybody up on who they know to be true. Like, you got it, sis. Like...
Oh, wow. I love this. Arcadia said, one of my best friends had to tell me plainly that you do not have to work for love. Oh, you do not have to work for love. That's real.
Arcadia, thank you for passing on the gems because I always think of Arcadia like the one and only time we met, but I love Arcadia, when Arcadia simply said, I'm not for everybody.
I just read that again today. I was like, that will set you free.
It will. It really will, because it's just like, you know what? Okay, they talked down on me when I came through trying to be nice, you know, trying to be relatable.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to own, I'm really that chick. You know, like, I'm not for everybody. So what do I look like walking through the party hoping for someone to see my value? I am the party.
See me like me. Oh, man. Where do you think that comes from? Especially, I can only speak from the perspective of a woman, right? As women, where do you think that comes from? This calling of like, see me, want me. We've had conversations about this, but you know.
Well, once again, it goes back to self. You're not seeing and wanting yourself. You know what I'm saying? And if you have a painful past, whether it's from, you know, trauma from bullying or whoever your caregiver is, doesn't just have to be your biological parents. If they were not present, then it becomes this constant situation of, I want to be seen, I want to be heard. And you'll do all types of ludicrous things to have it. Yeah. You know? And so that also manifests into our friendships. You know, oh, why are you, you know, commenting on that friend's post more than you're commenting on my post?
That's
you know, weird. And it is weird. It's like, why are you sitting there counting likes, you know, or, you know, you're constantly tearing down your friends in your head while also simultaneously wanting to be in close proximity to them.
Yeah.
So if you don't know how to have a deep conversation with yourself, look in the mirror and know that you're that person, you'll always expect for your closest people to see you in that same light. You know, they people always have to affirm you. And I remember at one time when words of affirmation, that was my love language. Like, it was, you know, like somebody...
5 love languages.
You know, like somebody just saying like beautiful things over me, and I would just eat it up. But over time I learned, I said, whoa, you know, just like the adder's tongue, you know, you'll whisper something else in my ear in the same way.
Because you're open. Since they primed you up, right? With all of this affirmation and this beautiful language, and you're, you know, craving it from not having it, not giving it to yourself, whatever it is. Those flowers can easily start to become thorns and poison without recognizing it. You know,
for sure.
Because you're open, and now, you know, you've grown to depend on it in a way of like, you know, affirm me, affirm me, affirm me. And then those affirmations slowly become, oh, you need to do this different.
Yeah, right.
You need to be different. You don't know yourself, you know?
It's devaluing. And it's like that's one of the phases that takes place when people weren't interested in the authentic you. They were interested in a version that they can morph to fit them whenever they need.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true.
And you constantly are in this, you know, connection and everything with these people. And you're wondering, how do I keep ending up here? And right. And so that was the necessity for the break. I'm like, how do I keep ending up with people that really don't like me? You know,
like me.
They don't like me.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and that was hard to admit because I was so embarrassed. I said, well, like, I actually had people in my life that did not like me. And I was embarrassed by it. And it's like, girl, when you take away all that embarrassment, you just like, they don't like themselves. So what do you think they're going to do with you? And they don't like their mamas and they daddies. And it's always somebody else's fault.
Isn't it wild, too, when you start to see that very clearly? It's almost like having on, you know, like in the movies, how you put on like X-ray vision. I might be dating myself. I'm 30 years old. Yes.
She's so old, guys.
I'm about to be 31. But you know, you put on the X-ray goggles and then you see all of these things that you didn't see before. And it's like, whoa, what was all that? And it's like you put on the goggles of inner knowing, of self-knowledge, self-awareness, and then you could start to see, oh, actually, the motives are different. Actually, this isn't coming from a place of real care. And I mean, to keep it 100, keep it 1,000, we've all done it. I've definitely been that friend where I'm like, clapping for you, but simultaneously, I'm like, I did it first.
Hating on the low.
Hating on the low. And I'm like, wait, why? What is it? And it was exactly what you're saying. It was exactly. I wanted that affirmation from external, from them. I wanted them to see that I saw or I did or I was first or am present, whatever. And because I wasn't getting it and because I refused in the moment to give it to myself, my celebration of them was half-assed. It was half-hearted. It was a grain of resentment. It was a little bit of envy. It was a little bit of you know what I'm saying? It was that. And I was like, ew, wait.
That's exactly what it is.
Ugly.
Jacqueline says, shadow work, preach. And that's really what it is. Are you ready to confront that shadow side of yourself? Because we have all this toxic positivity. Oh, I'm loving light. You know, I don't want to talk about that. That's bad vibes. And I said, how can you expect to get to where you're supposed to go if you don't allow some of those bad vibes to come in? Because the reality of it is the bad vibes are innate.
Come on. And you can't heal what you don't reveal. Like Jay-Z said, can't heal what you never reveal. That's true.
Okay, like
press it and hide it and everything's good and no, I'm so happy for you and when in reality it's like, wait, because I'm constantly showing up for you, I'm not showing up for myself, and so I'm actually really not happy. So I cannot be happy for you. Actually, let me stop lying. Let me just sit with it for just a moment. Just long enough to be like, wait, let me try and be more authentic.
And sometimes it's even as simple as if y'all are good enough friends, telling your friend, listen, I wasn't as happy for you as I wanted to be. I felt a bit of like, you know, a little jelly going on in my spirit. And are you ready to do that? Are you ready to be able to say, I could not be happy for you because I was thinking about what I was lacking and where I should, you know, be at, and I'm not there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think now is the perfect time to do that reflection because we are in this moment. Honestly, let's just acknowledge the fact that the world as it has existed prior to COVID-19 no longer is.
Thank God.
Okay, it no longer is. And so in that, the person that we existed as in that previous world no longer is anymore either. But it's a choice. But it's a choice. In this moment, right, where we're at home and we're bored, that's the perfect time to do that reflection. It doesn't have to be journaling. It doesn't have to be affirmation. It could literally be like whatever it is that triggers it. Go on Instagram. That'll help you reveal it real quick. Go on Instagram. Scroll through your
for sure.
What?
Girl, somebody slide up with your goal life and
it birth something new. Ashe, that birth something new.
Give birth to yourself. Oh, I love that Arcadia
you gotta
said
treat
that.
yourself like you're. For those that are on here that do not have wombs, right? Imagine what it's like to have a seed inside of you, to be pregnant, right? What do pregnant women do when they're pregnant? You got to take all your vitamins. You got to have rest. You got to drink water. You got to keep negativity away because stress will depress your immune system. That's going to affect your child.
You have to eat in a timely manner. Okay, for those of us that don't like breakfast.
Polly.
I'm more of a brunch type of girl, you know?
Okay, as long as you're eating and breaking your fast in a timely manner when your body is asking for it, then that's all we can ask for, okay?
Yeah.
But you got to treat yourself as if you're pregnant because really in this moment we are all creating who we will be moving forward. And I think it's so beautiful because we're in a time where distractions are at an all-time high as well as at an all-time low. You know what I'm saying? Distractions are through the roof because we're so bored. I'm not bored at all. Let me just put that out there. Okay?
Never had a day of boredom. Never. Because there's always something to do.
Always. But
clean your house.
Folks are bored, right? Because you're at home and you're not necessarily having to go out or able to go out. I know my folks back home in California, 3 more months of shelter in place. Now is the time to do that shadow work because babe, this pandemic is going to end. And when it ends, the world is going to be different. And so it's going to require us to be different to respond to it. And we have to be ready.
Mm-hmm.
You know, goal life. Oh, we're getting to our goals. If you're not ready, you can receive everything that you ask for.
It'll fall right through your hand.
Bitch, what? Gone. I'm like, this is and it's happened to me. It's happened to me. Oh, yeah.
It's happened to a lot of us that, you know, are impulsive and you just can't wait to get to the finish line and everything. And I feel like that's the beauty, though. Honestly, Sharlia, I feel as if me turning 30, and, you know, you've been in your 30s longer than I have, but I feel as if entering, like, this new decade, what it did for me is that it gave me a do-over in the best way. It's like, okay, now you get to be exactly who you've always been.
Yeah.
Free from, you know, the affirmations or also the negativity of others. This, like, who you've always been. Mm-hmm. If you want to be an artist, okay, vast majority of my life, I was in academia, you know, always pursuing academics. Yeah. But now it's like I find myself doing more artistic things, you know, all these creative type of endeavors. And whereas before I was too afraid to really tap into that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then life forces you there. And so are you going to allow yourself to give birth to your authentic self and allow it to be as painless as possible? Or are you going to keep fighting with who you are?
Right.
It's just so much work. And so I'm just like, okay, I've done the tug of war. What would it look like for me to go willingly?
There's a quote that I have on. There's a quote that I have on Flesh and Spirit that says, "Healing is the end of conflict with yourself." It doesn't, that's the thing too, is like, it doesn't have to, like you said, toxic positivity. It doesn't always have to feel good.
Well, it's not supposed to.
When you release the resistance of, I don't feel good, this shit sucks, actually I really need to change who I am, and you release that conflict and you go willingly into it. Okay, I need to change and come back to me, and let me go willingly, rather than continue to fight for the facade that I've taken on to appease other people and to hold a position for myself that doesn't even serve me. What if I let it go?
And it doesn't help those other relationships either. No. You know, one of the hardest things has been for me is letting people go that I thought were going to be along my journey, because we had shared so much, and there was just what I thought were a lot of heartfelt moments, and maybe they were in that time, you know, like, I don't want to just overshadow everything, but you have to know that, you know, something can come from nothing. So, you know, we don't always have to be like these whole beings. Sometimes you're going to be broken. That's just the reality of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I look at brokenness now as another way of creating art.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to take those shattered pieces and I'm going to glue them together, and I'm going to create a wholly new manifestation. Right.
I'm going to create beauty out of brokenness because I deserve to. And because I don't have to stay in brokenness.
No.
I think that's one of the greatest gifts of sisterhood. And that's one of the greatest gifts of our sisterhood, is like, we have witnessed and been part of each other's process of creating beauty and art out of brokenness, out of broken moments, out of being shattered, and being like, you know what? Let's go dance. Let's create, you know what I mean?
Right. Let's go dance. Let's go eat. You know, all of those type of things. And it's helped me so much to be able to set that aside and not just delve, you know, so deeply into my sorrow, knowing that I do have to be here. You know, sometimes you have to go heavy.
You gotta go heavy sometimes.
You have to go heavy. Everything is not going to be light. But knowing that I have a friend in which I can, you know, be told in a loving way, all right, Polly, let's table this for right now, and let's go out and do something. Do you want to, let's go out in nature, okay? Sharlia had me out there digging mulch. And I always, by the way, I did a lot, and you came for me that, you know, I know what I did with that shovel. But it was just so helpful, because we lose those connections with ourselves because of replaying things over. And you have to understand, you know, I love Kiara Sheard and everything. She's a gospel singer, and one of her songs, she is called Beautiful, and she has this lyric, have you ever seen the good and goodbye?
Yes, I've learned to. Arcadia said, thinking about this on the same thing yesterday, letting go can be hard. It can be. I mean, I think, you know, right before the wedding, 2 days before, the night before we flew out to Peru for the wedding, I was really realizing that there's a lot of grief. There was a lot of grief that my family was holding and kind of processing, because it was the end of Sharlia as they have always known me. So in a way, like, they were losing. In a way, there was something that was dying. There was something that was being let go of. You know, I was no longer just Sharlia, your sister, your daughter, your best friend. It was now Sharlia. All of those things, and somebody's wife, and you know what I mean? And when I pause, and I remember it so well, because girl, there's a lot going on. I was high and I was journaling, and all of this was coming up, and I was like, wow, there should be a process, like a step process to help go through this this journey for families of, like, you know, transitioning from a child or a parent getting married. Like, it's a whole thing. I think anytime there's a goodbye, whether it's through death, whether it is through transition into new ways of being, whether it's letting somebody go because there's no longer there's no longer a relationship that is helping to honor you. There is a grieving process that should be honored, because it's hard, because who you were before and who you will be after that goodbye are different people. And yes, it's a whole rite of passage. Absolutely. It is.
Somebody said it was a rite of passage. Yeah.
It's a rite of passage. You're a different person, Sing it, babe. He's singing some Prince. Hey.
Right. And that's honestly what you should want from your people. But in the same way that, you have to learn who this person is, it also makes you confront who you are.
Absolutely.
What part of you was remaining stagnant because it was safe to know the person that is in your friendship in a certain way? Because the reality of it is we all have different relationships with our friends. There are things, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There are things that I'm going to talk about with you that I'm not going to talk about with another friend.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that.
It's nothing wrong with that, but it becomes a conversation if this is what you want to do now. Because the way I look, I'm like, I'm going to change regardless. I'm never, ever going to just become, like in this one mode. That's not what I'm here for.
No.
And so
Sagittarius, okay?
And it's necessary, okay? Yes. Because I'm trying to do one thing, okay? I tried to do one thing and it hurt. It hurt so bad. And now it's just annoying. I'm just like, okay, I'm always changing and this is who I am right now. If you're okay with that, I would love for you to stay along this journey with me, but don't you ever think that you're going to halt my growth. That's what we're not going to do.
Ever think. And that's where sisterhood is. That's one of the moments where sisterhood shows itself. The nature of your sisterhood shows itself, because I've witnessed you have sisterhood bonds and you are transitioning and evolving, and it's met with hostility.
They are angry. They are angry because, like I said, because it makes them look at themselves. Okay, and they might never give you, the applause, because people are going to be selective about what they praise you on. But who wants to admit, oh, well, you growing and you moving to a whole nother place and you getting engaged and married, or you don't have a baby now. Who wants to be able to admit that's challenged things that I saw from my life? Am I ever going to have that? Okay, she now has that. I didn't even know that was something I was interested in.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And if you cannot sit at home and cry, even if you don't want to tell your friend I'm jealous of you, because I get that. But if you can't sit at home and mourn the loss of the way you were in relationship with another person, don't ruin somebody else's, modes of change. Don't do that. Don't ruin their journey, because these are people. Somebody changing is not saying that I don't love you. It's saying that I need better in my life, and I have to have it.
Yeah, and I have to have it, and I deserve it. And guess what? So do you. Whatever it is that you want, you deserve it too.
And I'm rooting for you. This isn't a competition. Who's going to get to better faster?
Listen, we don't go alone. We don't. We cannot go alone and be sustained. So we have to move together. But guess what? If I'm moving and you're not ready to move, that's okay. And I still love you, but I'm still going to move.
Yes. Yes, I am. And it doesn't even have to be a verbal assault on my exit away from the docks. I'm just going to drift off.
Yeah.
Like, people get the game messed up, and I feel as if you touched on it a bit, but, I just want to know, for you, in your own words, how do you see that the way you practice and engage sisterhood has changed over time?
Well, I guess taking it back to the earliest, I have sisters. I have two sisters. And so I wasn't necessarily active in sisterhood.
Because you naturally had it.
Because I naturally had it. And then I grew up, I was a gymnast, and I did gymnastics with my best friend. We've known each other since we were 8 and 9 years old. And we always had built-in sisters and sisterhood. You know, I had a big sister that was a gymnast that was a higher level than I was. And then I had little sisters, and it was kind of this thing, but I didn't start really practicing intentional sisterhood. I want to say until 2012, 2013. And the first person I was practicing intentional sisterhood with was Arcadia. Arcadia was the first sister that I was in intentional practice with. And what that looked like was holding space together to process. We were both dealing with a lot of things. Like, we were finishing our bachelor's. Arcadia went straight into her master's program and left to Albany. And I took a year off. And we were also kind of in this weird space with our partners at the time. And we were really just being intentional about, like, so what does this womanhood thing look like? What does intimacy look like? What does intentional sexuality look like? What does it look like to heal from, trauma and harm from relationship? Like, am I tripping? Is this normal with what's going, you know what I mean? Like, we held each other in so much space for reflection and grace, and just being like, look, I know you figuring out, I'm trying to figure it out too, girl. So how do we figure this out in a way where, as we come together, what I'm offering to you and what you're offering to me is nourishing for both of us. And we don't have to have it all together. We could be a mess, and you could cry, and I could be like, girl, I don't know what's going on. And it's okay.
It's totally fine.
Arcadia helped me with my writing samples to get into grad school. I was processing and reflecting with her. She would call me, she's here, and shaved her head off when she was in grad school. And she's like, I'm depressed in grad school. And she was so vulnerable and shared so much of her experience in grad school that I had more awareness of what I was getting into, and just shared with me her journey. And that was like my first taste of sisterhood in a way that felt intentional and felt honorable and felt like this person cares about me, and it's not just because we're blood, and not just, and even with blood sisterhood, even with blood bonds, I want to be clear with folks, like, some of our family and our blood bonds can hurt you the most.
Often that's the case. Family hurts first, because family knows those holes. They know how to get you where it hurts. And so and a lot of times the reason that we don't know how to do proper sisterhood and, romantic relationships just is because of family. Yeah. So everything starts from home. And if you didn't have those type of, relationships with your siblings, then how are you going to be received when you have that with people that are not related to you by blood? Yep.
True. And it's a learning process. It's a learning process. It can be very messy, but it's always, in the end, no matter how it ends, it's always beautiful, because there's a lot learned. And I'm grateful that I still have Arcadia as my sister, my close sister. Like, you know how it's like, hey sis, you got those that are like, hey sis.
Yeah.
And then you got like sister. I got a handful. And it's so nice that Arcadia is here tuning in, and I'm here talking to you, and Toynessa was on earlier. It's like,
just bing.
Sisters.
Yeah. And I love seeing that, because, I had one of my sisters, in here, and just being able to, and like other people that I wouldn't be opposed to growing sisterhood with, because I was like, all these people are coming from a different stage. I got a line sister here. I got people that I dance with, and everybody, they're getting the authentic version of me, and they're learning me on a different level, because even you, Sharlia, we've constantly had these conversations throughout the times that we've known each other. but it means something. You're just like, oh my gosh, Polly, like that was so cool to learn that about you from this platform. Hey, Christina. So bro. It's so nice to have somebody learning me from a different platform and it not be met with, oh, why didn't you tell me this? You know, like, why did I know that about you?
And that needs to be said too, is like, in sisterhood, in friendships, in relationships of any kind, your stories are your own. What you choose to share with anybody needs to be coming from a place of you deciding and making that decision intentionally.
Has sisterhood become easier for you over time? Because we've, like I brought up insecure to state the fact that sisterhood has not always been something that just came naturally. It's something that you had to work towards. Yeah. And that's a different story than what we receive about the way other people have engaged sisterhood, because we always hear, oh, man, I've never had it fallen on my friends. And I'm just like, yeah.
No. So sisterhood for me has become easier for a couple of reasons. One is feeling safe with sisters and feeling safe with other women in a way that it wasn't always natural, because, the ways that I did interact with women and had sisterhood, like I said, gymnastics, we're sisters, but you're also my number one competition. Also, this is an individual game that we're playing. So we're sisters and buddy, but also if you scored higher than me, I'm pissed. And that was the culture that was cultivated amongst the women and mothers. You know what I mean? So the way that sisterhood has become easier for me as a practice is being in a relationship where there is safety, where there is trust. And that in turn has allowed me to be more vulnerable about my shortcomings, about, my struggles. And so I practice sisterhood now with a lot more vulnerability, and the vulnerability allows me to be more authentic. So that's how I practice sisterhood now. Like, if I'm raggedy, I'm gonna be raggedy. I'm gonna roll up to, well, I wish you still lived here, but you would pop up over at the house and be like, hey girl, and we end up talking and talking.
We do.
Process.
I would do a drive-by, wouldn't I?
You do. You pop up and I'm like, all right, I guess I'm gonna cook dinner. And being able to be authentic and vulnerable has allowed me to just be a real friend, be a real sister, in the good and in the bad and in the ugly and in the beautiful, So that's how it's shown up for me, and that's how it's become easier for me to practice sisterhood. And the number one thing that has allowed that as well is the courage in practice to face my shadow, to do shadow work. That's yeah.
I mean, it's not easy. But I find it easier. I do. And the easier that it becomes, I sometimes reflect back on, oh my gosh, like, why did I make this so hard?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when you've gone through all of that, you just get to a point where you just want peace. You're like, I want my relationships to be light. We can have depth, but we don't have to do like this toxic thing where, because like we were saying earlier, some people need that. They need to have falling outs with people to know that it's real. And I said, you can't talk to me like that.
No.
Like, I am not here for that type of stuff. If I feel as if this has gone a whole nother route, I'm out.
Yeah.
And I don't feel bad about it, because you set the standard for how you expect to be treated. And I expect respect, because I'm never going to call you up like I'm ready to fight. I'm not going to fight with my sister.
That is wild. To be fair, though, I did fight with one of my sisters. My best friend's sister, we fought in high school. We had a falling out, and we came back together with more authenticity, with more understanding, and that's so funny because she just popped up in my phone in our family chat. Texting right now. That's funny. But I know. But girl,
so this has gone on. There's so much here to unpack, and prayerfully the videos are doing as they should, but being safe. But it's just so much to unpack, and we could honestly spend hours talking about this. We've already gone over an hour, but how would you like to close this out?
I think think we should close with an affirmation of sisterhood.
Okay.
And I think we can do that collectively, right? The two of us, we can, and I mean, if folks in here want to drop what they want to say, but a collective affirmation of sisterhood, of like what sisterhood does. So I can start.
Okay. Go ahead, Leah.
Sisterhood is a container for reflection, healing, and challenge. We affirm that sisterhood is... You continue.
Okay. Sisterhood is loving and accepting of all the different phases that you're going to go through in your trajectory to be better.
Your trajectory of becoming. Right.
No, never becoming.
Always. Ever.
Always.
Okay. I like that. We gotta type that out and put it.
Right. Just gonna have to go to the video, find the words, plug it out.
Exactly. But yeah, that's what sisterhood is. I'm glad that
this has been so great
together. Yeah,
I know this has been so great, and I think just like the response, it's been really good. Like I'm so happy we got a chance to do this because this is definitely a sisterhood where I've learned a lot. Like I always, like poke fun at you. I'm just like, I know y'all, they're Geminis with y'all emotions, but the reality of it is, in the same way that we are, receive sometimes negative experiences to help us become better. We also receive people being their authentic selves. And the fact that you were able to detach from things that didn't serve you, I really learned that along the way because I have so much water in my natal chart. I'm a very, caring person, but I know that I don't need to be depleted by other people who haven't come to that understanding. And if my tears are warranted, my sensitivity is necessary because that is how I take care of the collective.
Yes.
But I also need to know when I need to put it to the back. Like, girl, let it go, forget about it, and that's just it. So.
Ashe.
And I'm really happy about that. I'm really happy to know you, Sharlia. I love you. And
I love you too, Polly.
We're doing life. Like I told you before, girl, I said, we're going uphill with the wheelbarrow. And when the wheels fall off, we pushing it.
That's right. Okay.
Gang, can't get up out of this.
Do it. Gang, gang.
Get it, Violet.
That's in the sisterhood too.